年的GMology。
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geomologist Presents podcast. Today, we're going to talk sex and relationships in RPGs. And this is prompted by something that happened recently, or my most recent session of the ongoing Bloodlords campaign that I'm running with my home group. And then, since it happened, sex happened um, in the game between a player and an NPC. And just to clarify right off the bat, it's never graphic, it's never described. It's kind of one of those fade to black kind of 1960s TV moments. When you come back from commercial break and Captain Kirk is putting his boots on, and that's kind of the way it is, and that's kind of the way it's always been that way in the games that I've run. Maybe your experience is different, and it'd be cool if you let us know. But I did pose this question to one of the discords I'm on. I asked, how prevalent are relationships and sex in your RPGs? And I got a myriad of answers. So to help me decipher this and to answer the question from different perspectives, I brought an expert in on relationships, my wife, Amy, of 20 years. Hello, Amy. How are you tonight?
Hello, I'm good. I don't know if I'm much of an expert, but I can give my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you put up with me, so I guess you're an expert.
I don't know. I think it's more like you put up with me.
Well, you know how what they say, happy wife, happy life.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget that one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Anyway, I'm glad you're happy. I hope you're happy, and I hope you continue doing that for another 20 years. But anyway, so I'll tell you some of these answers.
Okay.
Um, I got an answer, tends not to really come up a bit more, but sort of a side comment. Another person said, same here. Characters just don't have sex, like they don't go to the restroom in my games. And then someone said, I find keeping sex minimal is optimal. It can be more jarring in play if it's not rare. And then finally, I had one person say, pretty much in every single game I run. He says, my old home group was very sex positive. And then another person says, depends on the game. Pretty much minimal, but if I'm playing Vampire or another game in which romance and sex are key elements, then it is more prevalent. So I'll explain what happened in my game, Amy, and then
hmm
maybe you can comment and then share your own experiences. And then we'll discuss anything further if we need to. But in my recent experience in Bloodlords, I just sort of, I don't know, on a whim, maybe because I had had a beer, maybe because of a long day and I was tired, but I decided that one of the player characters, a patron, that they were hired to do the initial adventure in the beginning of this adventure path, was just kind of being flirty with one of the characters. And then the character responded in kind. And then after a night out on partying, eventually he ended up back at this NPC's uh, where they were staying. And then, things happened, fade to black, etc. But then it happened, the same player, it happened again with a different NPC. And sort of he infiltrated into this group of rebels or rabble rousers that wanted to cause trouble in the town, and he sort of helped to redirect their efforts in from hurting sort of innocent, quote unquote, innocent lay worshipers in a local temple to going to helping the party go after the person they really are there to take down. So yeah, so it was another one of those. Okay, well, I guess the rest, after the meeting of this sort of a rebel cell met, then he kind of said, "Hey, um, let's." He said, "I don't know, maybe it's crassly." He said, "Let's seal the deal," and that's what happened. So again, fade to black or whatever. So, and I was like, "Wow, is this rare in my games?" Um, but actually, Amy, right, you reminded me this is not the case, correct?
No, not at all.
Right. So this has happened also with the home group in my Warhammer game. Two different players, not it's not always the same player, um, but two different players have had a relationship. Actually, three players have had relationship and are building relationships with NPCs in the game, but it's been a long-term campaign, right? So
Hmm.
one player, it just happened during Carnival, and then they kept it going. Another player who's rising in the ranks of the nobles has found someone who is sort of likewise rising through the ranks or is already a minor noble, and they just got along. It was great. Met at a garden party, and it went from there. And then another player, has brought on an NPC to help with his boating burgeoning boating empire. I don't know if it's an empire, but boating interest. He's got a couple boats that haul goods up and down the big river in that game. So from different ways it's happened. And there's been some other incidences that were here and then gone the next adventure. But I think it's been pretty cool. And then so but it's not just me as a GM, sort of, I don't know, inciting is the correct word, or experiencing or letting this happen. Um, just I let the players go sometimes and they take off, and I think that's great. I mean, that's to me a great part of playing is existing in the world and existing normally in the world, which includes, I think, building relationships. So, but as a player, I've experienced it in a ongoing game that I've run. Both myself and another player have, you know, this is a sword and sorcery game. Both myself and another player have had a relationship with an NPC or had relationships with an NPC. So, or are courting an NPC. So I think, probably it's dependent on the player. It's dependent on how comfortable I think the GM and the player are um, with each other, with the group. And yeah, I think that's, and how the player responds. I didn't know how my player would respond to this, and he responded like he did. So I think that was pretty cool. I think it gives depth to the campaign. It's not just kicking down doors and killing monsters and taking their treasure. Although there's nothing wrong with that either. Well,
Hmm.
Amy, so what do you think of a bunch of, I guess mainly a bunch of guys getting together and doing this?
Oh, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think sometimes that comes into play, pun intended,
Hmm.
because it's part of natural life. I mean, the best way to immerse yourself in the game is to envision yourself as the character you're role playing. And what's life without loving either another human or an animal or a child or something of that nature? It is our nature as humans to get together and, you know, reproduce or enjoy each other's company.
Right. Right. And I think, and I'm even thinking even more that I've done this in like some one-shot games too, where, we understand the everyone's pretty comfortable with each other, gets along, and as long as the people at the table are comfortable with exploring, the sexual relationships, again, nothing graphic, fade to black, then, I think that's great. I mean, it makes the game more immersive, I guess I would say.
And relatable.
Right. Right. So, what about you, Amy? What about your experience with sexual relationships and in RPGs
Well,
and
lately
relationships, I guess?
it seems to be in every game I'm in,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
intentionally or unintentionally. Um, I guess starting off with our Twilight 2000 game, you know, I envision that my character would have to have a reason to survive. And as a woman, my reason in my mind, and I'm sure there's other characters and players that are different, but in my mind, it was if I have a reason to survive, I'm more willing to put forth the effort. Then, the little setbacks won't be so bad if there's something at the end that I get. And it turned out that, originally it was another player and I that are good friends in real life, not in that way. He's friends with you too. And we decided that as a whole, our characters would have known each other. They would have been through a lot of stuff. Our other set of friends would have had nuclear bombs dropped on them. Those types of incidents bring you together, if nothing else, to be close in that sort of a way, you know? And then we added in an NPC along with this one, and then it became like a little love triangle. And then he killed himself because he didn't wear his flak jacket.
Got
And
himself killed. Got
well,
himself
he did
killed.
get himself killed.
Yes.
Well, not entirely. He was being shot at and he didn't
Right,
do
right.
anything.
It's just, it was
But
bad luck. It was
it
bad.
was
It's a
bad
critical
luck
hit.
and the dice were not with him.
Yeah, it's a critical hit because he did not wear his flak jacket because that could have mitigated the damage. And then I had that player roll and he rolled the worst result. So there you go.
And yeah, it wasn't good.
Yeah, anyway, it was going to be a love triangle.
It was a love triangle for a
Yes.
little while, but then once that happened, that opened it up to now I'm free in the game to flirt with my GM, who's my husband, and I could be a little bit more clingy to that particular NPC, knowing that you were playing them. And I don't think anyone in the group sees anything wrong with that.
No, not at all. I don't think so.
And
And I think it encouraged other people in the game to then also try to build relationships with other NPCs, male and female. So I think that was kind of cool.
yeah, and it's been kind of a thing as we go along, and it is on the YouTube, and we do when we're bringing up situations like that, or we're going through things that are between myself and the NPC, or when the one character died, we got more views on that. I mean, we routinely get views on that game, but it's more so when the romance is involved or we make a mention of it.
Yeah, I think
Just
we had does love exist or does love happen in wartime or in the apocalypse, I think, or something like that.
right.
Yeah, it's pretty well viewed. It's pretty well viewed episode of that game. Right. And then
Hmm.
we even did like a duel. We've done a couple duel games, and we did a duel game where you play Andy Holmes in Call of Cthulhu, and he's courted some women or he's courting a woman.
Well, yeah, because the game actually says that I was supposed to pick a love interest, so I did. I just don't know that I picked the one that the game wanted me to, but it wasn't that specific. But I mean, it's not anything other than they've gone to dinner or had coffee and we allude to things, but I mean, it's not a steamy X-rated romance.
Right, right. And it's from the publication Does Love Forgive, and we ran the first adventure in there as well.
Hmm.
I think, and it's a really good adventure. There's a second adventure, but the second adventure is totally unrelated. But then this is taken off into a campaign, sort of a mini campaign, and we'll see where it goes. Right. So
Right.
cool. So yeah, and maybe, and again, I think because of that, one of the other players might be um it seems like they're encouraged to like pursue a relationship with another of the NPCs in that they're encountering, right? So I think that's kind of cool. And maybe that's it. Maybe kind of if one person does it, then the other people they're like, oh, okay, so let's relax and make this like real and not just you know I don't know. I don't know what the alternative would be, right?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, in the series The Walking Dead, and they had romance going all
Oh,
throughout that.
totally.
Every time you turned it on, they had to have a reason to survive or to let some frustrations out or whatever. That's the way humans are.
Yeah, it's a big. Some of those are big stories. Those relationships are big storylines in the
Hmm.
game, right? And in the fiction of The Walking Dead. And I think they've done a good job. We've only played The Walking Dead a few times, but I think, you know, that would progress, that kind of thing would progress, and it definitely is treated well in the game through the game mechanics and in the fiction. And actually, like I was able to play. We played online on our channel, but on the Kevin Madison's channel, Dungeon Musing, I was thinking, does that stuff do we ever have that kind of stuff, or is it implied in that game? And I think one of my characters did, do that at the end, showed some affection towards the character of another player, right? Just reached out and held their hand, right? Because it was a very
Mhm.
traumatizing moment. And I think that's all that was needed, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to do that and explore that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
And
that's T2K definitely had that love triangle, and now you're married to this NPC.
I am.
I think there's definitely the possibility, if we continue as this campaign, we played this campaign for like 4 years. Um, but as we continue, I know we're coming to like almost like a breakpoint pause in the campaign where, much like Walking Dead, it's funny we brought that up. We'll fast forward some time. And
Mhm.
then, it could be, kids and stuff like that. So then I think that'd be it get to sort of the generational aspect, which I think is a pretty cool thing. And I mean, there's a lot of games, not a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there are a lot of games that really uh, get to that, second generation, or get to that idea of having a dependence that, in the course of the game could be put in danger, and then that's another motivation, I guess, for the player characters. So,
Right.
and a game that I think does a great job of that is Pendragon, which we played.
Uh, yes. So as that character rolled badly and killed himself, I was just trying to use a stat on my list of things my character could do, and I ended up flirting with somebody, and you rolled, and he ended up in love with her, and then I rolled, and it's just funny.
And no, yeah, and Pendragon. So I guess
Pendragon.
no, the character didn't. You beat him in combat.
Twice, yes.
Yeah. So the first time so give a little explanation, Amy. And I'll throw some details in too. So Amy plays a female knight, or she was not a knight initially in the campaign, but has
Right.
done some service to Arthur as Dame Linnell now, Irish background from Northern Wales,
Mm-hmm.
Estergals, yeah, from yeah northeastern, well, wherever Estergals is, northeastern, maybe, I don't know. Someone will call and correct me. So anyway, so they're right now, we're in the first few years of Arthur's reign. They've gotten to the battle at Carleon, and she took out a Lothian knight, like in single combat. And
Well,
then
that's the second time I met him.
no, that's the first time.
It was the first time because I thought I met him at the maybe not at the joust. He was at the joust, but I didn't meet him
Right,
at
he was at
any.
the joust
Yeah.
because he remembered you guys,
Yes.
the young knights of Arthur, or whatever it's calling you guys.
Mhm.
Also, I guess on the enemies list for King Lot and them. So anyway, you defeated this Lothian knight. Your squire actually, you had defeated some other knights, or some other, like I think some knights from Gore or whatever, and but your squire was actually finally, your squire, or the other player's squire, was able to drag him back. And then, right, he was very melancholy because they'd lost the war, and and then you decided to flirt with him to try to cheer him up, and then that's what happened, right? So now we
Well, that and I was trying to get information as to where Lot was going because I thought if I flirted with him a little bit, he would be forthcoming with information because he was still melancholy.
right, yeah. So it burgeoned into something. We named the NPC Sir Jamie of Lothian,
Sir
or
James.
Sir James of Lothian, calling Jamie, but yeah, and then he was ransomed off, and then and then there was like, you wanted to send him a letter or a message, and I think that which is great is because Pendragon, the whole romance and chivalry is really a part of Pendragon, or it can be, if the players are interested in that. And I think it's cool that the other player in that game has encouraged you to do that, right? So, and given you advice when you've asked advice, and I think that's great. I just let you guys play that part. And I think that's really good to just play that out. What do you think? Should I tell Arthur? Well, I don't know, that kind of stuff.
So we told Merlin,
So you told Marlon, right? And then
which is I don't think it went anywhere, but then I ended up in the battle because
in the
both
latest
of you
battle,
guys were discussing that if we ever met on the battlefield, what was going to happen.
right?
And
And it's a this contradict. I mean, it's this like very Arthurian conflict of passions, right? Duty to your lord versus love. And then that's kind of what I did. Well, actually, Amy kind of blindsided him in the battle. She saw him, recognized him. He didn't see her, and Amy, because I mean, if she took him out, then if she didn't kill him, then she at least he would survive, right?
Yeah, and I immediately had my squire take him back and capture him yet again. This poor guy.
Yeah,
And
and
he's a
then, but
household
then
knight.
again, the conflict that came up then was this, you know, uh, homage or duty to King Lot versus love for you because he had fallen in love with you. You had rolled. There's a love passion in the game, so you both rolled and you have a score. And then it was a contest of that, and love won out. So now we'll proceed from there and see where it goes. But I think Pendragon is a great game to really focus and foment those relationships. That has a generational aspect, right? There's during the winter phase, you have to roll for pregnancy. You know,
Well, they're not even married yet.
I know, but
She
down the
just
road,
captured him again.
down the road,
You two were funny when that happened. We paused the video and you guys were looking through all the rules and everything that could potentially happen. And I'm like, okay.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good. That's pretty cool. That again, it's not, and it really is. Maybe it's not about sex necessarily. Although I guess that you in another game, in a top secret game, that you play in, that we're both players, you've kind of used those feminine charms, I guess, right, to good effect.
Yeah. To, well, not to get her way, but to get what she wanted. I mean, your character wanted to sabotage the helicopter, and my character was supposed to distract the guy,
Yeah,
and she did. And, it I don't think she was anything other than, a little flirtatious, and he took it the way he took it, and
and there you go.
you got to sabotage the helicopter, and we haven't had the next episode yet to see what happens with that, but I mean, she's not opposed.
Right, right. And I think it's great. And we even did like a game for your birthday a couple years ago where we kind of mashed Downton Abbey and a Call of Cthulhu. I have a
Mhm.
recording of that somewhere, and I'm sorry, listeners, if there's an interest, let me know and try to track that down and go through the episodes that we recorded and edit them because they need a lot of editing. Because it is not just the players talking, but also the die rolling, and it needs some work. Anyway, but I thought, but of course, the whole thing was your character was looking for her husband who was racing in Turkey, and we did like we kind of used Horror on the Orient Express a little bit for some
Mhm.
inspiration. So so I think that was pretty cool too, right? That's just sort of driven and I thought, what was it? There's something else where um characters had was it that we play in that where characters were no, it was a game that recently run a Halloween game that was run by Jason Connerly where all the characters had like were family or interested or something like that, right? There's a connection there, through blood or relationship. So I think it's a good motivator in a role-playing game. I think it can give some depth, like I've said, to the role-playing game. So what do you think, Amy? What's next?
I don't know. I mean, I have a question. Do you see it more in face-to-face gaming or online gaming?
Um, it's I mean, I definitely see it in my home group, but we've been playing for a long time together, so and it's not every, some people feel more comfortable than others in doing that, and some people just don't engage with that. So I think it depends on the person, but no one's objected. And of course, if they would object, and we wouldn't do that we wouldn't do that anymore. But uh, in in the online, it probably happens less. Yeah, I think it happens less frequently. Does it? I don't know. It's hard to say, really. I mean, it's kind of like happens in all the games almost that I run.
Yeah, it seems
Oh,
that way.
I even forgot one. Like in the Hyperborea game, which is a kind of old school type of game where there's nothing. The only set of, well, and most of these games there's no rules. We outlined Pendragon, but there's no rules in 2K for this type of thing. There's no rules in Warhammer really for this type of thing, or much less in Pathfinder. Pathfinder 2, except just like diplomacy roles, like a
Mhm.
reaction role. And same with the older games that are like this Retroclone and Hyperborea, you have a reaction role, and you just roll the reaction roll, see how it is, and then it can come up box cards, and that's the best result, very positive result, and it's like friendly and helpful. So then it depends on how the GM and the player interpret it, but definitely there's been a case in my Hyperborea game where one of the players has, you know, courted and had a relationship with one of the people. They're like Amazons who are running this fort that they're at, and yeah, so it's happened there too. So that's
Mhm.
online. So I think maybe it happens all the time. So,
I think so
and I think I
because
play face to face equally as well as online. So there you go. Maybe it's just me.
yeah. Well, no, I mean, I think it's a good mix because even the con we just finished at the beginning of last month, even one of the games I played in there, the actual physical character description was my character's main goal was because she was basically a drunk to try to at least make it
That's gonna
through
sound awful.
college. And her end goal was to get a husband. So I was supposed to play this character that everybody I came across that was a guy could be a potential husband. And I ended up trying to court the devil. I, because she was drunk, but it didn't happen. But it's just kind of a fun twist on things. But I mean, some games I feel write that in there.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I that's a strange situation, but I guess that's the game, and players are okay and willing to work that out and play that out. So
We had a great time with it. It was funny. I mean, there was nothing inappropriate, but it was just funny that that's the way my character was.
right, and I think at cons we've had those things come up too, right? In the games we
Mhm.
play like modern Call of Cthulhu. Um, we've done that, but online and at the con. So I don't know. I don't think. I think it really is dependent on, just to finally give you an answer instead of talking around it. I think it's dependent on the group and how they feel comfortable with that type of subject and those types of things thrown into a game. Some
Mhm.
people don't, and that's fine.
There's
And
part
you
of
got to
me
respect it
that,
because
yeah,
everyone's there to have fun. You got to respect that, right?
there's part of me that wonders if in a game situation, whether it's online or in person, if a player feels like they're more free to be what they really are and therefore act that way. Because I know when we first got married, you used to play with this one guy that no matter what, he would always play a half naked female, no
Yeah,
matter what.
and
And
that's what you like to play. Hold on. Yes, I think that's a good point. Is I think, depending on the comfort level of the person, and they're free to express how they are. And you say that's more prevalent face to face than online?
I think so. I mean, I've not, I mean, I've played in other games where people don't care if they're playing a male or a female character, they could care less. And, but this one particular person wanted to play that, I think, so that he could experience different things, not in a bad way or a different way, just I mean, sometimes until you walk a mile in someone's shoes, you can't understand what they go through. And I guess characters are that way too.
Right, right. Yeah, and I know like in one, and I did that in a both online for a Dark Ages Call of Cthulhu game. I had character sheets and tokens for either uh yeah, either gender for each character, and one character was kind of androgynous or could have been androgynous too. So yeah, I think and then you let people choose and how what they feel comfortable with, and then proceed from there. I think that's pretty cool and a good way to go. But
Yeah.
again, as long as it's like what someone said, sex positive, and everyone's okay with it.
I mean, ultimately, I don't think anybody should have a particular problem with it if it's just a fade to black moment and not a 50 Shades of Grey moment. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody's really going in depth on anything.
No, it's because it's just a game getting around with friends.
Hmm.
And even like at a con game, I guess at a con game, I mean, there have been instances, unfortunately, we won't dwell on them, but there have been instances where people have been made to feel uncomfortable, and I guess that gets into the realm of lines and veils, and then the X card. But they do provide those at cons where if you want to get up, no questions asked, you can just get up and go if you feel uncomfortable. You don't even if you don't like the game anymore. So, so I think that's fine. But I think I guess I'm fortunate that I have players who really, I would say, want to want the world to be more immersive from them for them, and this is how they express it.
Yeah, feel safe to do that.
Right, and feel safe to do that. That's a great point. All right, so anyway, that was pretty fun. Any last words, Amy? You want to give us a hint about what any of your characters are up to, or you don't have to?
Well, I mean, I think we talked about what my characters are
Oh,
up
I
to.
know one thing I was gonna say. I think.
Oh, that you need to flirt back with the player that's flirting with you.
Oh, I guess if it's your character in T2K, maybe I got to do a better job of that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I don't know, Amy. Maybe one of these days you could run Good Society for us.
Well, that's putting a lot on my lap.
Yeah, so Good Society is a Jane Austen role-playing game. So you play out your own Regency drama of balls, estates, passions, and desires. Oh, 2 to 5 players. Maybe I should look into it and we could make that a dual game on our channel.
That could be fun.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Hey, if you have comments and questions, I hope you do. Um, I hope this has been interesting to you. I've been wanting to It's been on my mind, I guess, this week because of like what happened in my games and thinking back on the games that I play and how, I think it really is, like I said, I think the bottom line for me is I have a lot of good players and players who really want to immerse in the world, and this is how they express themselves.
Yeah, and I think it's great that they trust you enough that they feel safe to do that.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much, Amy, for joining me.
Thanks for the invite.
You can say the line.
Good night and good rolling.